you all know, the issue affecting Fresno that we have chosen to research is reckless driving. And if you recall from our first presentation, reckless driving is an issue that a majority of our class, as well as a majority of Fresno, has been affected by in one way or another, whether it be witnessing a preventable accident on the road or being involved in an accident themselves. Fresno's driving is so bad that unfortunately our terrible drivers are one of the things that Fresno is notoriously known for. And our bad driving stems from a lack of education as well as a lack of common sense. And since this is such a big issue, damaging not only the city's reputation, but more importantly the lives of this city's residents, it is extremely important that we as a community come up with an effective solution to combat the large issue that is reckless driving. And we as a group have worked together and have come up with 3 possible solutions that we believe could be implemented to combat this issue and ultimately make the roads of Fresno much safer.
So basically summarizing what Connor said, we had 3 possible solutions that as a team we created, and our final solution is what we found best to implement and make the, and really like actually try solving this problem. And on our next slide is our first solution.
So the first possible solution we came up with is to change the drivers' attitudes. And our logic behind this idea is that while most accidents come as a result of a lack of education and common sense, some accidents occur because drivers simply just don't care. And people can be educated drivers will still choose to make bad decisions on the road. For example, people that race on the road, they know that what they're doing is wrong, but they still do it because they think that it makes them look cooler, but it really doesn't. And all they're doing is putting their own lives at risk as well as the lives of everyone else on the road. Reckless driving doesn't always stem from a lack of driver's education, but rather a lack of care and empathy from drivers. And we believe that through the implementation of different PSAs showing the consequences of reckless driving, we can make a difference in the mindsets of Fresno drivers. So for example, at my high school, we had a program called Every 15 Minutes. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but basically the idea behind it and their message is that every 15 minutes, a person becomes a victim of drunk driving. So to better teach us that, they had, through our school, it wasn't the school paid for it, but it was outside sponsors that paid for it. And I think it was like parents of people that were affected, that were victims of drunk driving. And they really wanted to see the consequences. So what they did is basically they faked like a car crash scene in the front of the school, and we all, like our entire senior class went out and watched it, and like they had like one of our seniors like act like a drunk driver, and another one that was like they were like victims. And they had like cop cars and like ambulances and EMTs that were like taking people away to the hospital and stuff. And the actor that played the drunk driver actually spent a night in jail. And then throughout the week they chose like 15 students from our grade that were supposed to be like dead as a result of drunk driving. So they didn't come to school. And throughout the week we saw like their tombstones that they put out through the school with their names on it, just to kind of get more of a reaction from us about how damaging this issue really is. When it comes close to home, obviously with students that are in your grade. And our school actually did a video on it, which is what we're going to show. We're not going to show the entire thing, it's like a 20-minute video, but we'll just show a couple minutes just to kind of show how emotional these videos are meant to be to convey how bad reckless driving is.
So Conrad also mentioned before that they also found like fake funerals for the people who had like passed away. And he mentioned to us how like it was really shocking hearing the parents say stuff at like their kids' funerals, but they weren't really dead.
Before we play it, there's like fake blood because obviously it's like acting, but there's gonna be like some blood on there. So if you guys don't like that, then probably look away. But there's gonna be a lot of it, just so you guys know. Watch it.
911, what's your emergency?
I need an ambulance right now, please.
Okay, where are you?
I'm in Aurora High School.
February on Corona, what happened?
There was a car crash with like 2 cars. There's 4 bikes. I think the driver was drunk. Please hurry.
Okay, sweetheart, stay right where you are. I'm going to look for the fire department, the paramedics, when they show up and flag them down, okay?
Alright, okay.
Okay, they're on the way.
Rick!
Is that work? Can we see you? Okay. You have a pulse? I still don't have a pulse. A lot of resistance in this.
These are head injuries, I don't think they're gonna have you guys.
I still don't have a pulse.
We're running out of time. Time of death is 10:09. Thank you.
Today, they think that she was hit by a drunk driver and.
These are the actual
And
parents.
was
Yeah.
severely injured and was hurt something, which nothing could be done. You're welcome to say that you're welcome.
So obviously this is a very emotional video, and it was really emotional like to watch for all of our school to witness. As just people that like we grew up with and we know really closely. And I mean, obviously it gets to the point across very well that drunk driving is bad, and also the consequences that come with it. I know that it was very eye-opening for not only for myself, but for the entire school and everyone else who's involved. And that was just an example of a video that is meant to leave a strong emotional impact on its viewers. And like I said before, our school didn't pay for that. Like, it was through our school, but our school didn't pay for any of that. It was an outside sponsor, like an organization that paid for it, because they want us to realize the consequences. And now Sheena is going to talk about how this solution can be implemented.
This solution could be implemented through the social media. It's pretty simple. Social media is a big part of our lives now. Everywhere we look, someone is either on Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, etc. And if we were to acknowledge those who were negatively impacted or killed by reckless driving, just like what Connor said with the every 15 minutes, then we could change the attitude of being reckless to be cool to not being reckless and staying alive. Since we are a part of this generation, we could simply spread a hashtag or post about how important it is to be thoughtful of others while driving and that they wouldn't want themselves in those situations.
So, just like every solution has its pros, it also has its cons. And one of the biggest cons of a solution like this is the fact that you can't really change everybody's attitude regarding a problem. And this goes as far like, we pose an example like smoking and vaping. There's obviously a hashtag for that, and we've all seen ads about it, but nobody really takes it seriously. And while implementing like videos like this, like maybe half of you guys thought, wow, if that happened to me, it would be really bad. And then maybe the other half of you was like, it's just a video, it doesn't do anything. And that leads us to our second possible solution.
Also, if celebrities were not using their influence to celebrate the driving over the speed limit because I'm rich and I can attitude to the media, then all of society would not have even thought of recklessly driving when they listen to songs or reminders of scenes from movies. That is an actual music video that I found on YouTube called Driving Fast, Long Way Home, which is like pretty not cool if you really just look at it. People who have a high influence in society should use their influence to raise awareness of the dangers of driving recklessly rather than celebrating driving recklessly with their expensive cars because they can. And I have a picture of Paul Walker over there. I know you guys know Paul Walker. He died. Yeah, R.I.P. But he drove pretty fast. He was driving like 100 miles per hour with his new car, which, I mean, yeah.
Alright, ways to fund this. You can raise the income tax of the wealthy in the upper 4% of the middle class. The wealthy represent 21% of the population of Fresno, which is a big amount. You can raise their income tax 3 to 4%, and also raise the upper middle class 2 to 3%. Within 3 years, we'll raise over $200,000.
The use of commercials on PSA would bring up how serious of an issue reckless driving is and how it could affect anybody in a matter of seconds. These reviews to show people out there not bigger than this issue and how much of a probability it could happen to them or their loved ones. So they should start driving better, hopes everyone else decides the same to provide a safe driving environment for everybody. These PSAs and commercials could be used to show everyone the severity of the issue and how it could affect anyone due to people doing things they should not, while driving, or not knowing how to drive properly.
So the second solution that we believe could reduce reckless driving in Fresno is to raise the price of traffic citations. And our reason behind this idea is that for many people, money is one of the most important factors that dictate their behavior and actions. And we believe that if a person facing a larger penalty for an action, especially a penalty where their own money is at stake, then they are more likely to not follow through with that action. So by raising the penalty of tickets for various citations like speeding, running a red light or a stop sign, and seatbelt violations, we hope that this would make more people aware of their actions on the road, ultimately improving the driving here in Fresno. And with this solution, we do also realize that a downside of this solution is that it wouldn't really be affecting members of the upper class as much as it would the middle and lower classes. Because paying more for a ticket would not necessarily be as impactful people in the upper class because money is not as big of a concern for them. For example, the people that drive fast sports cars on the road who are always speeding, they do what they do because they don't care about getting a ticket, because they're just gonna pay it off no matter what. It's not a problem to them. So in that case, raising the price of tickets would not change their behaviors. And the idea that we came up with to counter this, this issue would be that repeat offenders of traffic violations would not only have to pay the fines for the ticket, but they would also have to serve mandatory community service hours. And while people with the upper class may not care about how their money is spent, they're gonna care about how their time is spent. And also each additional time they receive the ticket, the hours of community service would increase to make sure that they don't keep committing the same violations. So for example, if a person is given a ticket once, all they have to do is pay the fine. And the next ticket they receive, they would pay the fine as well as serve like, just an example, like 10 hours of community service. And if they receive another ticket, they would pay the fine and serve 15 hours of community service and so on. And the money that they'd be spending on the tickets and the money that would be used when increasing the price of tickets, we believe could be used to improve the quality of roads here in Fresno. And the community service hours could be used improving upon other big issues our communities are facing. And this would overall benefit Fresno as a whole.
We can implement the solution through government and police reinforcement. If the government pushed the cops to reinforce these higher ticket prices, then there would be a high possibility of the drivers being more careful through the fear of these ticket prices. Therefore, the chance of recklessly driving would be at a lower rate. It would be obvious that individuals who have their pockets at stake would not even gamble at the chance of losing money just to be reckless. Now, like Connor said, one of my concerns for the solution as well is that other factors like racism within the police and giving tickets to individuals who did not deserve them could be a problem. And there could also be possible anger or riots coming from the lower class or poverty line because, you know, they already have plenty of financial problems to worry about. But then again, cops would have to have body cameras on duty, which would be another law that would have to be enforced by the government as well. And this new implementation would not be found as a problem to those who are already not reckless when they drive.
Most people already feel as if when they see the cop, they need to drive the speed limit and make sure that they're driving correctly, so then that way they will not get a ticket. To have the prices of tickets raised would instill fear into people to drive correctly because they don't want to put the money into this and have to take the time out of their days to put in the community service. This would ensure that everyone would get punished for their reckless driving.
As mentioned before, or as Connor mentioned before, we see the cons with this solution that would be like, it might not affect the rich, but it overall would allow like everything to sort of even out, and the money made from, not taxing, but increasing the prices would benefit Fresno as a whole, so that's that.
Yeah, and also the community service aspect of it too would be very beneficial, because we have a lot of problems obviously that we need a lot of effort towards to fix it, so that's just an idea that we have. But our third and final solution that we came up with is to re-implement a mandatory driver's education course to all high schools in Fresno County. And we believe that this is the best solution to be able to reduce reckless driving here in the city. And we believe that allowing future drivers to first learn the rules of the road in the classroom setting will increase the knowledge and safety of Fresno drivers. John Bowen, the former president of the Florida Professional Driving School Association, stated, as soon as people start taking driver's education away from the kids, we're going to pay for it with lost lives, collisions, and ultimately it's going to cost everybody. And you might all be wondering why driver's education was removed in the first place. And the answer is because of budget cuts from schools. Not because it was ineffective or students weren't learning, but simply just because of a lack of funding, which I believe is extremely unfortunate considering what's at stake here. And as a result, teenagers then receive their driver's education from online classes, which I'm sure many of you guys have, I know I did. And these are extremely expensive. For families that cannot afford to take online driver's education, parents are left to teach their own kids how to drive. And while we all like to believe that our parents are all good drivers, the fact is that not all of them are, and some are even worse teachers. Beliefs about driving and what is being taught to new drivers can vary from parent to parent. For example, some parents may teach their kids bad habits, like telling them that they only have to stop at a stop sign unless there's a cop around. Obviously, like, this is really bad, but I've seen like some people do that. And bad teaching like this can be dangerous for first-time drivers. But by re-implementing mandatory driver's education, we remove this danger as students will be taught by a professional. One downside of this problem is that it will not be as beneficial for the adult drivers who are currently on the road. However, this solution will greatly benefit current teenagers as well as future generations of drivers in Fresno. We realize that adults play a large part in reckless driving, but we believe that in order to achieve the best results, we have to tailor our solution to the teenagers of Fresno. We are thinking about this issue long term and need to focus on the youth as they will be the next generation of drivers in Fresno. We need to emphasize the importance of safe driving of teenagers, especially since according to teendriversource.org, motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death and disability in the United States for teenagers. This website also states that the majority of new licensed teen drivers exit their learner's permit period with significant skill deficits, leading to a much higher risk of crashing compared with more experienced drivers. Like most common types of crashes, the most common types of crashes involve left turns, rear-end events, and running off-road. And like I previously stated, teens are receiving most of their driver's education from their parents, who as we can see are not teaching them effectively, which is why they should be taught by professionals in high school. This would also be beneficial to teenagers who come from middle and lower class families. Some teenagers hold off getting their license because they can't afford to pay for the online driver's education. By providing driver's education in high schools, the families that are struggling financially no longer have to worry about paying for expensive classes online or lessons through the DMV, and can now receive free or discounted driver's education through their high schools.
One way to fund this, we raise property taxes 1 to 2% for the lower class and 4 to 5% for the wealthy and 3% for the middle. Would make like a drastic change in funding for this, the stuff he wants to do. And if they're struggling to pay for their houses already, we can not increase their taxes, which will help them.
Yeah. So the largest obstacle to bringing back driver's ed in high schools, just like any other solution, is that it's going to cost money to fund the programs, obviously. However, we have to remember that by spending money for these programs, we are creating a safer environment for the residents of our community. And we have to get our priorities straight and realize that no financial cost is greater than the cost of a human life. And also, another idea our group had is to kind of combine our last solution with the raising the tickets with this one. And we believe that the money that we use that is spent or that they receive from the increase in price of tickets could be used to fund the mandatory driver's ed in high schools. So these kind of go together, just an idea.
Now, once we gain those funds, if we ever, the solution could simply implemented through school administrators. Now, these administrators could push forth the importance of reckless driving prevention through classrooms, as mentioned earlier, and they could also bring kids from the schools who have been affected by reckless driving, so that the students would not treat it so much as a joke if someone around their age have gone through it. It is very important to raise awareness while they are young rather than older, because it is a higher chance that kids will listen and remember it when they are older. I have gone through assemblies about reckless driving, but with this implementation, we do not mean it as a once a year assembly. We mean it as by a constant reminder through classrooms or by the teachers.
According to a study done by the Office of University Communications at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, they followed more than 1,500 teen drivers over 8 years, which found that driver's education significantly reduced crashes and traffic violations among new drivers. Enforcing students to begin taking mandatory driving classes would ensure that they would know how to properly drive once they leave school, and they will know everything they need to know to be safe on the road. I know today, not everyone takes driver's ed because many wait till they are 18 to take their driving test, so they don't go through all these courses, so they don't know everything to properly drive and create a safe environment for everybody.
So adding on to that, I'm gonna post like my own personal example. Most of my friends got their permits when they were around like 16, and I got my permit until I was 17 and a half because I didn't have to take the driver's ed classes. So I just went, did my test, and if I passed it, I passed it, and if I didn't, well, I didn't. And that would, implementing these classes would like allow people to actually finish, because my friends that did get their permit at 16 would just wait it off until they got their license and then would forget everything. But if you're giving students a step into getting their license like faster and like more kind of, it's like a slide in, like a foot in the door into getting their license fast, it would prevent a lot of like forgetting information and stuff like that. And according to California state data, the number of motor vehicles and pedestrian accidents involved in deadly collisions are higher in Fresno than when compared to other California cities. In 2016, there were approximately 2,807 motor vehicle accidents. And of these accidents, there were 65 bicycle accidents, 148 motorcycle accidents, 84 pedestrian accidents, and 4,273 traumatic injuries, and 112 deaths. And that's from 2016 in Fresno. So it's 2019 now, so obviously probably went up. After explaining why we believe these solutions to be the best one, the solutions as a whole serve the Fresno community. Everyone will benefit from implementing the solutions we have suggested for reckless driving. It would not only benefit the drivers because the problem doesn't only affect drivers, although they do seem to be like the stem of the problem. It would affect the Fresno community as a whole, and even though all the solutions have their cons, everything has their cons. And implementing these solutions would create a safer environment in Fresno overall.
So in conclusion, reducing reckless driving in Fresno will take lots of work to achieve, however, it is not impossible. This is something that will not happen overnight, but the eventual results will be worth the wait. We must remain diligent and determined and remember what is at stake. By implementing these solutions, we can achieve a safer environment for not only the current residents of Fresno, but future generations as well. We believe that if these solutions were to be implemented, we would see long-term improvements in the overall well-being and safety of the residents of Fresno. So that concludes our presentation. We're now open to questions that you guys have.